Guys, welcome to another episode of Rennch. We have a very cool pair of DIY projects that you can do in your garage on today's show. Now, some of you who've been watching this channel for a while know that I've been developing a Subaru EZ30R flat 6 engine swap for Porsche 911s and 912s. Well, as I'm into the production of those engines, one of the major things I want to be able to do is refurbish all of the parts so they look as great as possible when they go into your car. Now, if you've restored a car before, you know how expensive it can be to get a part sandblasted and then powder coated. So what I've done is I've partnered up with Cerakote, who makes a really cool ceramic coating that's very akin to powder coat, but a lot thinner, but just as strong. They're very well known for exhausts, and a lot of guys that do custom guns, they use Cerakote. It's very thin, it's very durable. It can go on plastic, it can go on metal. And I thought that would be a great choice for the bits of this engine that I want to look amazing. However, to get the full Cerakote setup is very expensive. You have to get the part sandblasted and then coated at a specialty shop. But I thought, what if I could do that here in the Rennch garage? So the first thing I did is got a Harbor Freight blasting cabinet and I started customizing it. The first two mods I made were a metering valve at the bottom, and that allows you to meter the air that's going into the suction to get into your gun, and then a pressure regulator where I can manually change the pressure on the gun. The last thing I want to do is put the entire thing on casters, and that is what we're going to do right now as the first project. After that, I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to make my very own Cerakote / powder coat oven that I can use right here at the house. Before I get into any of that stuff, I want to point this bad boy out to you. This is made by a company called Brightlink, and it's really cool. This is essentially a digital whiteboard. So here's my sandblast cabinet. This is what we're going to do right now. And it's got 4 legs, obviously. What I want to do here is build a frame around the bottom like this. And then I'm going to mount wheels, 2 wheels that pivot on this side and 2 wheels that stay on that side. And that allows me to move the sandblast cabinet in and out really easily. Also gives me a place to build another shelf on the bottom. Now this whole unit is really cool. It's 65 inches, it's fully mobile, so I can move it anywhere I want. But this is the part to me that makes it all worthwhile. Check this out. So this is also a full Windows PC. And one of the coolest things about it is that means that I can use all of my Haltech and Link ECU. I can literally roll this thing up to the car, plug the USB into the back of this thing, use a wireless keyboard, and then tune not only the Blasphemy build, but the Leistern EZ30R swap cars. I'm so stoked about this. I didn't have a single Windows thing in my house. I'm an all Mac shop here. So this enables me now to have a full Windows 10 machine running. I can move this thing anywhere I want in the garage. I can watch movies on it. I can use the whiteboard to demonstrate like I just did. And it's super cool. So thank you so much to Brightlink for sending this along. I will give you some more details if you guys are interested in something like this. I'll put all the details of this unit in the description of this video. And if you'd like to reach out to me privately, and I will connect you with those guys. For now, let's get into the frame on the bottom of the blasting cabinet. I've actually already cut the metal for it, so I need to weld it together and then get the wheels on. Then I'm going to paint the entire thing up and hopefully match the factory red of the Harbor Freight cabinet. So I've got the frame all welded up here. We're good to go. And I've just marked for some bolt holes all the way through each one so that I can bolt this thing together. I'm going to drill those bolt holes off of the frame. It'll be a lot easier to do it over on the workbench. I am all welded up, and I've got bolts through the blasting cabinet, so this thing is ready to go. I'm going to pull it, flip it over, weld the wheels on, and then give it a coat of Rust-Oleum Cherry Red, which I'm told is this exact color. Now, if it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it'll be nice because I'll be able to put a platform here to put, you know, buckets of different media and that kind of thing. So what you guys just saw, me creating the entire underframe and welding it and putting the wheels on and grinding and prepping and painting, all took about 4 hours to do, basically from scratch, from leaving Home Depot until now. And now I get to do the completely unknown but really fun portion of this day. Let me show you what we're in for. The same company, Brightlink, who sent me that really cool monitor that I can write on, also sent me this video wall, and that video wall was in this giant crate. So instead of breaking this crate down, I thought, let me see if I can do something with it. Initially, my plan is, all right, well, let me put some of my tools, my drill press and things like that here. I can keep all my fabrication stuff in this area, which is great. And then I started watching videos on Cerakote on YouTube, and one particular video had a guy who was a Red Bull motorcycle rider who built his own oven out of this. And this is aluminum faced insulation. These 3 4x8 sheets cost about $55 each. So I can't remember what that was, but it was about 200 bucks by the time I got that and a bunch of other stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to make this side of this crate, which I was just using for storage and to kind of clean up this huge mess I have in here. I'm going to make half of this into a Cerakote oven. And I've got multiple steps to do to make that happen. Number one, I've got to cut this door in half and put hinges on it so it actually opens up and I can get to the inside without having to take the entire front face off. So that's That's the first thing we're going to do. Secondly, I've got to start cutting and laying out these boards on the inside, this insulation on the inside. And my plan is to basically like glue a piece of insulation on the inside of this door. So as it closes, it completely seals what will be the oven. Now, how will we heat the oven up, you ask? Well, this is the unknown part. This is what that dude did in the video. He's actually just using a heat gun. So I bought a very fancy heat gun, output settings between 500 degrees and 1100 degrees. We need to get this oven to about 300 degrees, really 150 to 300 degrees to get this stuff to do what we want. So I have a whole bunch of stuff I got here from Lowe's, like a door latch and hinges and things like that. But I also have this digital thermometer. And my plan is I'm going to poke a couple of spots through the top, and I'll mount this somewhere so that I can see what the temperature inside this oven is. If for some reason it doesn't work with the heat gun, all is not lost. I can still use the entire, aluminum oven that I've built, and I'll just have to figure something else out for a heating element. right, dudes, it's literally a week later. And the reason why it's a week later is because Sunday, as I was making the frame for the Blaster, which is done and painted and looks great, and here it is on wheels. I just have to bolt the wheels on and it will be good to go. I got two really small, but felt like boulders, pieces of metal in my eye. So Sunday night, I mean, look, we all work in the garage. We're always dealing with some debris of some sort. This time, and I had glasses on. I was grinding that thing and I had glasses on. But this thing, like, I had a couple pieces that sort of, you know, came and went like they always do. Inevitably, something gets in your eye. But man, this thing hurt so bad on Sunday night. I said, man, I can't seem to figure this out. Monday, I like woke up with an eye basically frozen shut. And all day it was like, ow, ow, ow. So I went to the urgent care and they said, we need to make you an ophthalmology appointment. So I had an appointment the next day and then ended up having a 3-hour eye surgery where they had to drill this piece of metal out of my eye, literally drill out of my eye, and then drill out the rust ring around the metal. Not pleasant. I was like, oh, I wish I was at the dentist right now. Anyway, really crappy. And that was a bummer. So it put me out for a week. I couldn't even be outside. It was so bright. So today's really the first day I'm back. I'm going to finish the Sandblaster right now, and then we're going to move on to the piece de resistance, which is building the oven for the Cerakote. So I'm going to cut these pieces and line the inside of this. Then I will show you guys what I'm going to do to create a kind of a hanging rack system. Now the question is, can I get that to 300 degrees? I don't know the answer to that question, but let's start cutting some of this stuff. I'm not going to bore you with it. I'm just going to measure squares and cut this stuff all out. So I'll be back in a sec. Making some progress, and I've got a bit of a critical piece, really the only critical piece here of the oven, and that is this wall, which is the door wall. This is the wall that needs to attach to the door, and then basically as the door shuts, it seals the oven up. I already have this piece cut. I need to cut the back wall one, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut this door, and I've got it sort of closed on this side. This thing's leaning to keep it in. I'm going to have to figure out some solution to, maybe I'll get another latch or something. But what I want to do is I'm going to put some glue on the inside, or on both surfaces really. I'm going to shut this door, and then I'm going to screw this piece into the door so it seals the adhesive. And then that should take care of that, and it should stay where it's going to stay. Then I just have to basically hit this back wall. Then I'll tape everything up, put this side wall in, tape the side wall, and then we should be fully sealed. My battery died in the middle of that, but basically I glued the insulation and then screwed it into the door. And now as I close this and seal it, I can just go like this. The latch is under some tension, which is nice. I come in here and it's like a nice, I mean, it's not perfect. It's like a little bit of air gap, but I may actually be able to use some tape and tape a little edge on this so that it overlaps. But screwed it in so it's like firmly on the board, so it should be glued and good to go. So now basically all I have to do is make this back piece here and then slide the sidewall in. All right, guys, here we are pre-taping in the oven, and it looks really good. So I'm gonna tape up all these edges. Well, not these edges, but all of these edges. I am taped up here on the inside, and I'm gonna put this wall in and then tape it, and we should be fully sealed. We are functional. I cut a hole, and I've got the heat gun popping through. I've got my thermometers. My probes are down in. Right now, the temperature is 93, 99. That's pretty good because it was like 84 before. I'm fully sealed now. And what we want to do is see if this temperature can get up to, like, 300 degrees. Will we be hot enough? Even 150 would be good, but 300 will be, we can cure Cerakote, we can cure powder coating. Like, it'll be a whole thing if I can make this thing get up to 300. So that's the goal right now. And maybe I'll build a little bracket for this thing to sit on here so I can have a clear view of what the temp is. Look at that, though. It's really quickly climbing. It's at 133 degrees right now. And it's moving fast. So let's see how it goes. I've got a little smoke coming out now. It dawned on me that I may need to tape the inside of this hole so that the foam doesn't melt because of the heat gun. That could be what the smoke I'm seeing right now is. But check this out. That's close enough to 300 for me. 297 degrees is fantastic. Considering that we need the Cerakote to cure and it's 300 degrees, I think this is going to be, there we are, boom. As we speak. So that is really freaking cool. So proof of concept is there. Let's shut her down and see what I've got to fix here to prevent this thing from smoking. Okay, more progress. I've got my round rod. This is all thread. And I've got it bent. They are pretty much symmetrical. I've just drilled 6 holes. And now I'm going to poke these suckers up through the bottom. So I have 3 little racks that I can affix stuff to, so I can hang things. I'm not sure what I'm going to do in the middle yet. I may actually end up welding something in the middle just to keep them like a rack. Yeah, let's do it. My inner racks are through, and you can see how I did it. I just basically bolted a washer on the inside. Obviously, you can't rail on it too much. It'll punch through. And then on top, another washer and a double lock nut. And I'm going to trim these off right now. Yeah, so 3 minutes, and this thing looks like it's brand new. It's got a little undercoat on it, so it doesn't come off very well. This is all rubber right here and tar. So it didn't come off with the gun, but this is really good, really clean, ready to be either rattle canned or shot with Cerakote. All right, dudes, that was incredible. I now feel like I have a soup to nuts Cerakote setup. I'm gonna take you guys through the entire thing right now, show you all the upgrades, show you what the oven looks like finalized, and then in the next video, we will actually go through the process and Cerakote something. My goal is to take all the parts that are on Mark's EZ30R engine that we're going to Cerakote. I will blast all of them and then coat all of them, bake them in the oven, and we should have some completely finished Subaru EZ30R parts, which means that I can then assemble the engine the way it's supposed to be assembled, and that'll be that. It'll be a complete engine. So let me take you through right now all the different things I did to the blaster and obviously creating this oven. What do you think, bud? Some good blasting? I need to be right there, dude. Ben, I need to be right where you are. Okay, here's the setup. There's the big old crate. Let's start with the blaster. Made a bunch of additions and modifications to it. Number one, I built this frame with casters, and it works really well, in and out. Number two, I've got this metering valve, which allows you to have a smoother uptake of the media for your blasting. And I'll get into the media I'm using in a second. And then we've got the pressure regulator. You might have something that requires a little more delicacy like a plastic air intake, for instance, which is something I have in the garage, and I want to strip off and then add some Cerakote to it. So the two things that are still necessary for this blaster, now that I've done a couple of things, are the glass upgrade. So there's like a plastic window on the inside of this, but you can go to Lowe's and get a 1 foot by 2 foot piece of glass cut. And the move is to put that on the inside instead of the plastic thing. And that is a much better way to go. And then two, you really need to upgrade the light. This light works okay, but the source of the light is over here. And there's too many shadows that we look at on this side. You can't really see into the nooks and crannies of the stuff you're blasting. So it's nice to have a light on this side and this side. So that will definitely be something I'll do. I've seen people upgrade these lights so they're like daylight inside, and I think that's the way to go for these blasting cabinets. Next, I have my media. So a couple of Harbor Freight buckets. Here I have the garnet, which is, I want to say it's like 60 to 80 grit. And I have the glass bead, which is much finer. It's much smoother. And here's what I'll tell you. This gives a really nice smooth surface, but doesn't really give that like etched metal vibe that we're looking for when we sandblast something. The garnet, however, is perfect for that. So I highly recommend the garnet. Here's a couple pieces that I did. This is obviously a hub. I mean, look at the difference. This thing was filthy, and you know, you could see how gross it was on the inside. And now this thing is basically ready to go. And if I decide that I want to Cerakote it, I can. Same drill here. You can see this one's all sort of crummy and gross, and then this is all nice and brand new. So that's the deal with the blaster. I think it's great. I think you can absolutely make that, and you are good to go. And then the creme de la creme. I'm not sure if you guys noticed before, but there is my temperature gauge. Here are my little pokers that go on the inside, and that's the thermometer. I've got the heat gun that's plugged into the side, and then this is what it looks like inside the oven. I've taped up most of the spots. I still have a bit to do on the bottom there, but you can see the heat gun pops out right there. My racks are installed nice and firm. I may end up doing something where I create like a little crossbar here and just make this one big rigid spot, but maybe not. We'll see. I'm going to have a couple of hooks, obviously, so you can put the stuff in, but that is a really big oven. And believe it or not, that heat gun heats this thing up in like 5 minutes to 300 degrees. So I don't know if it's sustained yet, but it works really well. This little inside tucks right in like that. And then you pop this thing right here, and we've got ourselves a nice sealed oven. So I'm all in with the blaster for about $500 and all in on the oven for about $200. And that's with no major Harbor Freight discounts or anything. You know, often they'll have 15% off. But I think this cabinet's gonna be great. I think with the proper upgrades, there's a ton of hardware. It does take you a little while to assemble it, so just give yourself a couple of days. In fact, I think it took most of last weekend for me to just get all of this stuff set up, and then another full day to build the oven when that time came. So seriously though, less than $1,000 for something that can cure Cerakote, even on really big items, pretty rad. I really hope that I can fit like a whole exhaust in there, because that would be really cool. Anyway, that's it for this video. Stay tuned for the next video, and we will blast a bunch of stuff, and then we will outgas it by heating it up and making sure all the stuff comes out, acetone, etc., etc. Then we will Cerakote, and we will see how it all turns out. All right? Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you next time. Keep on rocking.